Is liberty dying where you live? Escape to Keene at freekeene.com.
So I want to welcome Lauren Rumpler, a.k.a. Objectivist Girl. She is going to be hosting the ladies panel this year, and she'll be telling you about her wonderful lady guests. And, of course, the microphone will be open whenever you want to open it up for questions and things like that. So welcome, and thank you for coming to Keenevention.
Hi, guys. Good morning. Thank you for showing up so bright and early for my panel. So I have gathered some of the most beautiful and intelligent women in New Hampshire right here on my panel. So we will definitely open it up for questions at the end so you guys can ask them awesome questions. And so my panel consists of Kate Ager, I always do that, Kate Ager from Cop Block, and Allie Havens, of course, major activist over here. And then we've got Renee. Kate? Yeah? Okay, good. So I am going to go ahead and start asking the questions as soon as I type in my password because my computer likes to lock itself. Okay. So, ladies, and we'll start with Kate. What is your favorite thing about life in New Hampshire?
Well, I don't really have much to compare it to since I was born in New Hampshire, but lately I really like how many people that are liberty-minded have moved to New Hampshire. It's made the community a lot more exciting and interesting all around.
Awesome. Allie?
I guess it would have to be that this is the home to the Free State Project. Because there's lots of things I could point out that I really love about New Hampshire, like the scenery and the people, but there's great people in other states too. Right. And there's lots of unique things to New Hampshire, but the most unique and important thing to New Hampshire for me is the fact that it's a home to the Free State Project. That's why I don't live in Vermont or Maine or anywhere surrounding New Hampshire.
Yeah. Renee?
Well, it's a completely different atmosphere. Here in New Hampshire. The scenery is great, the people here are great. Everything's great.
Everything's great. I think that's definitely summarizes it for me too. So starting with Allie, what makes New Hampshire a great place for women? Because we're always talking about trying to get women to move here, and I think this is a great atmosphere for us to push for that.
Sure. I think that, and I think the reason you asked me is because I moved here from somewhere else.
Yes.
And so because the only other place I've lived besides New Hampshire would be Alabama, I can say from my experience, contrasting my experience there to here and what I hear from other women around the country, since we're all connected on the internet and you hear women complaining about where they are, is that I get the sense that women don't like feeling like they have to, or people don't like feeling like they have to fit into like a mold. And, maybe in some cultures and some other parts of the country, there's more pressure to sort of fill a certain role in society or something like to that degree. So there's a lot of diversity here. You can sort of be who you want. You can dress how you want. It's not like you're going to be like singled out because you're wearing something different. There's no like way women in New Hampshire dress or act or behave. Right. So it's kind of nice if you feel like you're kind of like feel that you don't fit in where you are, that you can come to New Hampshire and there's no certain way you have to go about your life. You can live the lifestyle you want, and you'll generally find other people who appreciate that or have the similar kind of lifestyle.
I agree. I have a very eclectic style myself, and I found that in Ohio it's very weird. And here the judgment is so incredibly low. We have a saying here, let your freak flag fly. And that's really awesome. I know it sounds negative, but it's like a really positive, good message that comes from Free Staters. They're so accepting of the way that you are, the way that you dress, the way that you act, and just who you are. You can actually be who you are here, and you don't feel judged, and that's great.
Yeah, you're not like you're not pressured to get married right away, like I felt like I was in Alabama kind of thing, or there's no pressure like I could imagine you'd feel in other places to fit a certain mold that you don't feel like you want for yourself. So I like that freedom here.
Yeah. What do you think, Renee? You've lived here all your life.
Yeah. my father lived in Indiana, so I used to spend a lot of time out in Indiana. I have family in Mass. So I have been exposed to other places. I have friends in other places. I've noticed here, I would have more girl drama out in Indiana than I've ever had here. Like, I've 3 women up here, never argued with them. That girl there, never argued with her. Never argue with women here. Just saying. I can't say it's like completely drama-free, but for the most part, it's true. The women here are so positive and accepting, as is everybody. But
I think you're right. I don't really see it being. I've heard about this thing where this phenomenon across the country where women are like attacking each other.
I know.
And I'm sure that there are like probably women in New Hampshire watching at home being like, I don't know what they're talking about, but I am not seeing it to the degree that people seem to be talking about it across the country, like it's this big thing. Maybe it's because a lot of people talk about how like, well, there's not enough women moving for the Free State Project. There's a lot of men, and maybe that's part of it. Like, we don't want to alienate other women necessarily, but I'm not seeing that as much as you might see in other places.
Yeah, I see the competitiveness with women. There's a lot of competitive attitude between women and other places. And I find that that's not really the case here in New Hampshire. Maybe it's the ratio from men to women. But also, it's really just that even though there is drama, I don't think the drama is nearly as bad here. When we say drama, that's not drama. I mean, go to Indiana. I went to school in Indiana, and there is drama there. I mean, it's a lot of drama. What do you think, Kate?
Well, I don't know that this is exclusive to just women, but I just think it's a friendly place in general.
Yes.
Like, especially smaller towns, people wave and say hello as you pass. And I've been to a few bigger cities, and it's really not like that there. So I think whether you're a woman or a man, it's nice to be in a friendly community.
Yeah, I came from a very small town, and I was worried when I moved that it wouldn't have that atmosphere because I knew everybody. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to wave at people and say hi, and everybody's so receptive to my friendly personality, and it's great. I mean, if you are a friendly person and want to get to know other people just randomly, New Hampshire is definitely a wonderful place for that. So I wanted to ask you guys, and we'll start with Renee because she's lived here her whole life. What is your favorite physical feature about New Hampshire? Like if you had to pick because there's so many different environments here in New Hampshire. It's amazing.
Lots of pretty nature stuff. Like if you go out deep into the woods, it doesn't matter where you go. You hike up a random mountain in Surrey, you'll find some sort of underground gold mine, or like, I'm not joking, I've been to one. Lots of pretty rivers, little secret spots. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's awesome.
That's why it's nice to know the natives, because they know about the secret spots.
Right.
What do you think, Kate? What's your favorite?
Well, I'm really fond of like all the windy back roads and all the mountainous views and lakes and everything, especially in the fall. That's my favorite time of year, and I love watching all the leaves change. And yeah.
What do you think, Allie? What's your favorite thing you've seen here?
My favorite thing would have to be, because I haven't really, it's not like I'm a big traveler or anything, but just those moments when you're driving, trying to like get whatever point you're trying to go to, especially if you go like northern New Hampshire. I don't know what you'd be going up for there, but if you happen to have the fortune of having to go northern New Hampshire, just getting to go, and you just like stop for a second. Well, don't stop your car, but keep driving and be as safe as you can. But it's hard because you've got this beautiful lake, and then these just like rolling hills, and then mountains and peaks, and then you can see snow, and it's like all the seasons are encapsulated in this like one scene, and it's a distraction. Like, you gotta be careful. You gotta realize that other people on the road are also looking. Maybe traffic slows down a little bit more, but it's It's gorgeous here.
It really is. And the amazing part is you can go to Portsmouth and you've got all these little shops and there's the beach right there. And then you can drive like maybe an hour and you're in the city in Manchester. And then you can drive an hour north and you've got all these beautiful mountains. It's amazing. New Hampshire has everything. If you like any type of terrain, you're going to love New Hampshire. It's incredible. We'll start with Allie. Tell me about your decision to move here, and there will be a different question for Renee and Kate.
What's really awesome about the Free State Project is that I was basically looking for the Free State Project before I even knew it existed. Like, I didn't think that anyone would have created something like that just for me. But I mean, really, after high school, I was like, I would love to be somewhere where I'm going to be able to connect with other people who are liberty-minded. And I was just trying to kind of take a guess of where somewhere like that would be, like places. Like, I was thinking of maybe Colorado. I don't know. There seems to be a lot of like open-minded people there. Maybe Texas. You know, I didn't really know that there were like so many. Even like now I know after being part of the Free State Project that there's lots of other states that have tried something similar, kind of like copycats. But I didn't even know there were any efforts like that out there. And so I was looking at a lot of different places and kind of just deciding that I know there's going to be meetups anywhere you go for like Ron Paul election type stuff, because that's about the time when it was, you know, before 2012. So when I found out about the Free State Project, which was from listening to Free Talk Live, basically like the first episode, because they talk about it every episode, I was like, wow, I can't believe that exists. And then as soon as I knew that existed, I was like on board. There's no convincing that had to happen. And to me, it was sort of the answer to, I didn't want to go to college, and the only reason I really did entertain the idea of going to college is it seemed like a good excuse to like get out and travel and experience new things. But, you know, why not just save the money and get to make lots of friends and like learn a lot? I feel like I've learned way more being here and gotten more experience that's like, you know, you could apply to like lots of different careers than I would get going to, you know, spending like a mortgage trying to get an education in college. So
yeah, I actually had the opposite experience. I actually did go to college, and I've learned more in the last year of being here than I ever did in 5 years of college. And, you know, it's really, the people that you're surrounded by are so incredibly intelligent in so many different ways. We all have such a variety of knowledge in different areas, like science and math and, you know, just pure liberty, and then, you know, history and economics. It's incredible, and you learn so much here because everybody's so open to sharing their knowledge and their information. There's so many good media outlets. It's wonderful. So for Kate and Renee, we'll start with Renee. Let's see. Tell me about what makes life really unique growing up here. Sorry.
I don't really know.
How about the education? Is it?
Oh, well, public education sucks everywhere.
Mm-hmm. But how about the education since you've met the people in the Free State Project?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I definitely learned more being involved with liberty-minded people than I did in public school ever. It's I've become so much more open-minded, and I've expanded my horizons, and it's great to not be a slave. It's great. Seeing other people like friends in that hamster wheel, just spinning like, oh, I went to school, now I've got to go to college, now I'm gonna pay taxes. Like, sucks for you. I'm living it up. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah. And Kate, what about you? I mean, I know you do a lot with Cop Block. And so what makes the state really unique in terms of freedom?
Well, in terms of freedom, I mean, there are, no sales tax, things like that. But for me, what was really unique about growing up here is that I always kind of had liberty ideas. I just never really knew how to articulate them, and nobody else around me seemed to understand. And then just one day in Central Square, I came across a whole group of people that did understand. I was 15 or 16, and it was really amazing because everybody was moving here, and they were moving here for the Free State Project, and I had no idea what it was, and it just, came onto my doorstep, basically. So.
Isn't that amazing? Yes. We all have come here through different ways, but we're all just so happy with the environment that we're in now. And so, Allie, what about the people here? What about the people that you had to leave? Do you feel like your friends here are closer with you, or do you feel like you've left some people that you really miss? Or?
Oh, definitely. That would be the hardest part about moving, is that you leave behind friends and family, that, lifelong friends and family. And so that's always rough, but you can, keep in mind that you could always, when I left for the Free State Project, I had a lot of friends and family being like, wasn't really sure what I was getting into, and I wasn't either. So it's like, well, if you don't like it, you can always move back. That's always the case.
That's
you can,
true.
Or move somewhere completely different. And, you're not necessarily committing to anything.
Yeah.
You might have to pull a lot of strings to be able to leave where you are. People have connections and things that kind of tie them to where they are. But I think part of that was a lesson for me, in that you don't really want to tether yourself to a certain place in case you change your mind or decide you want to go somewhere else. And since moving, I haven't decided to live anywhere else. So the question was, are my friends closer here?
Yeah.
I would say it's definitely easier to make friends in New Hampshire because you have the common ground. You can always meet other libertarians and not have to have that awkward conversation where certain things come up and you're like, when am I gonna tell them my real opinions on these things that are just kind of going by in conversation, how many things I'm going to let them get away with saying before I just put my foot down. And you just don't have that experience here. It's like you're all on the same page for most of the time, and then maybe something will come up, something kind of minor, and at that point, the conversation or the debate is kind of on a different level. You're not trying to convince people that taxation is wrong, or that we shouldn't be taxed as much.
Right.
Now you're talking about things that are, like fractional reserve banking, and if it would exist in an anarchist society, it's a whole different level, and it takes your mind to a different place, and it's more stimulating in that way.
2 nights ago, I was having a discussion about quantum physics. I can't get a discussion about quantum physics going. I'm too busy trying to convince people of liberty. I move here and I get to talk about cool things like quantum physics because I'm not busy trying to convert liberals to liberty. So it's great. And how about you, Kate? Do you feel like the people you've met since you become a part of the Free State Project are closer to you than your friends outside?
I definitely feel like the friendships and connections are a lot more real.
Yes.
And they're deeper. It's not just like, oh, we like to do the same thing, or we like to go to the same baseball game. It's like there are solid values that we share.
Yes.
So I think that's definitely closer.
And how about you, Renee?
I fully agree with Kate. There's that aspect, and I've noticed here that people are a lot less discriminatory towards younger people.
Oh, yes.
And that, I could go on about ageism for so long, but I won't because it's your panel. So, it's so nice. If I'm gonna stand outside and have a smoke, no one's gonna be like, you shouldn't do that, you're not the legal age. Like if you did that standing outside the high school, people are going to be like, oh my God, what a badass. Whereas people here are going to be like, wow, that's completely normal.
Yes.
So there's that. And also as I was growing up in this liberty movement, people were truly looking out for my well-being to make sure that public school didn't completely dumb me down, because they were truly worried, People genuinely care. People are, the friendships are deeper.
Absolutely. And I mean, you being one of the youngest members of the Liberty Movement. It's incredible to hear your opinion from that perspective, and it's great to hear that there's so many people that'll embrace you and not think about age, because ageism is a really big issue. I completely agree with that.
And it's so important because most people my own age, I can't communicate with.
You can't relate
I can't
to.
have a solid
Yeah.
discussion with them because they're too worried about their mom not buying them the new iPhone 6.
Yeah, when you have different values and priorities than other people, it can be frustrating. And I would also imagine that when it comes to like older people interacting with younger people, there's a tendency for them to like want to pass on all these warnings and things that, you really need to make sure that you're following these steps, because otherwise you're going to get screwed. And they really like terrify you that if you don't follow their formula, that before you know it, you're going to end up with a life you didn't want. And I think that because there's so many different, you just see so many different examples of how you could live your life here. Like, who would have thought that you could make your living just being libertarian? Like, that's just an insane idea. So I really like that you're not going to get those kind of judgmental figures in your life. I'd imagine, most importantly, when you're young, which is when you really don't need it, when you're kind of making a bunch of big decisions for the first time, you're not going to get pressure from the older people, at least inside your close group of friends.
Absolutely.
To make certain decisions that are more mainstream. They're going to respect what you want.
Exactly. I like to think that, I always think it's really funny when people say that the people on the Free State Project are immature, because I find that this is probably the most mature group I've ever met, because they overlook all the biases that are so rampant in the rest of society. I don't see any biases in the Free State Project. I've never come across that. If they exist, I don't know about them. So what are you guys able to do here in New Hampshire that you can't do anywhere else? We'll start with Kate.
Don't have a lot to compare it to, so I don't really know.
Has seatbelt laws.
Can drive without wearing my seatbelt and ride a motorcycle without a helmet.
What about you, Allie?
You wouldn't be able to, with the internet, it kind of geography doesn't make as much of a difference as it would without the internet, because you can connect to people, all over the world for resources and for their mentorship. But at the same time, I think that connecting with people in person and meeting these new people and learning from them, I don't know. I've been part of some projects that I don't think I would have been part of if I still lived in Alabama, if I lived anywhere else. Because you make these connections with people, and then you kind of make an impression on them. They say, hey, I would like you to be part of my project. We have similar values. I think that you could help me reach this goal. And I think that if you didn't get to see people on a regular basis, because you pick up a lot more in person than you do just online. You can definitely make connections online, but
Absolutely.
It might be a little bit harder, and you're here. Once you're here, there's more incentive for people to actually get to know who you are, because it's kind of awkward if you just ignore that person who's standing in the group or at the table.
That's awkward. Yep.
And you get to know people better. So, I don't think I certainly wouldn't be nearly as involved in media or any of the projects I've been part of if it hadn't been for the Free State Project. I think I would just be another YouTube commenter if it wasn't for the Free State Project.
I just keep thinking about somebody actually standing there and ignoring people. And I know awkward's our style, but I don't think we're gonna go that awkward.
Well, sometimes you'll be in a group of people and you won't know who this person is, and then when they finally introduce yourself, you're like, oh my God, you're that guy from that show I love, and I haven't even been talking to you this whole time, and now you're leaving. What the heck? And you're like, oh, it's okay, I'll see you again, because we'll be at that social event again, and it's awesome.
Everybody out here does such amazing things. What about you, Renee? What are you able to do out here that's so awesome?
Well, I don't really know because I don't have a whole lot of experience anywhere else, but I'll tell you a little story. I took a trip to North Carolina. I went to the mall. I picked out enough items to add up to about $300. I get to the cash register, and they're like, all right, that'll be like $400. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And they're like, where are you from? Sales tax, duh. And I'm like, wow, not in New Hampshire. So, ladies out there who are watching, listening,
If you like to shop.
If you like to shop, it'll actually be $300. Just saying.
Hashtag it's like this too. So I know this is definitely a big one for you. And so I want to start with you. What have you gotten involved in out here that's really shaped your life?
Well, I edited for Cop Block for a couple years, and I like that because it's kind of behind the scenes, but it's still really important. Get a lot of stories out there. I also did the shipping for the store, and I don't know, I've done a lot of various activism. I've gone to random events, and I think Cop Block was definitely the biggest one, though. I read all kinds of stories. Like, everything that was submitted is just amazing how many people out there are being abused by police and just want somebody to listen.
Yeah.
So I feel like that has definitely changed the way that I look at things a lot.
Yeah. So it's not just activism, it's also kind of charity function as well. I mean, it's like a place where people can come to kind of heal and feel like somebody can understand them.
Yeah, it's just, people can connect and share their stories with other people who might have had similar experiences and get it out there, and then people don't feel as alone when there are, 600 people saying, oh, wow, that happened to me too.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Allie? What have you gotten involved in that's shaped your life out here?
I would have to say the most life-shaping experience for me since moving would probably be getting involved with Free Talk Live, because before moving, I used to be, biggest Free Talk Live fangirl before I moved. Like, I listened every single day, and it was a big deal to me to listen to Free Talk Live. And to catch every second of it, except for, the ads. Don't need to listen to that again. But, obviously, every caller, I would know the callers. I'd be familiar with all their opinions. And then going to Pork Fest and meeting Ian and Mark, and then moving, and then soon after moving, getting to be on Free Talk Live, which is such a big deal to me. And I try to play it all cool. I live in Keene now, so I guess I get to be a co-host every once in a while. And then being a regular co-host and being part of the chat and people knowing who I was from being on Free Talk Live, was a dream come true for me. And it might be small, especially people that live in Keene. They're I've been on Free Talk Live, no big deal.
I know the feeling.
But it is a big deal if you...
I freak out every time.
Yeah.
I get excited every time.
It's awesome. And, because I know that there's someone out there who is I used to be listening to every word that is said on the show. So... For the reason it was life-changing for me was that, you're a fan of something and you're you really admire people for what they do, and you kind of look at them like they're heroes, and then before you know it, you're right there with them doing the same thing because you have the same values, and it's wouldn't be possible if it weren't for the Free State Project, because I'd have no excuse to move here and have been on the show,
I totally know what you mean. I had a serious fangirl moment when Mark brought up the idea of me co-hosting bi-weekly. I freaked out. He wasn't there for it, but I went to my friends and freaked out. I was like, I'm gonna co-host. It's gonna be so amazing. So I can confirm how good that feels when the people that you respect you back. Mm-hmm. When you get that feeling, it's the greatest feeling in the world. And here in New Hampshire, that actually happens. You are able to grow to a place where not only you respect yourself, but the people you respect you too.
Yeah, the idea
amazing.
of being equal with someone who you regarded as a hero for so long is just exhilarating and empowering. I could do anything. Who's the next hero I'm going to pick out so that I can be equal to one day?
Yes, exactly.
So, it's cool.
New heights all the time. And what do you think, Renee?
Well,
what has shaped your life?
This is I don't even know where to start. I guess just the people here. Growing up, my father always used to say oh, that's just how it is. My mom would say, that's how it is. You need to go to college. That's how it is. Or school, just saying that's how it is, that's how it works, this is how it works, there's no other way. And I was always like, well, I don't fit that mold, what do I do? And at this point, here in New Hampshire, it's okay to break the mold. Like, let your freak flag fly.
Yeah.
It's okay if you don't want to have a 9-to-5 job. It's okay, you can do something else. Make food, sell it to people, give Agerist cab rides. It doesn't have, it's not a one-size-fits-all place. It's a very diverse place, and it's a lot healthier than constantly comparing yourself. And I feel like we kind of went over this earlier. So,
well, I imagine, like, I see other groups of people, like, I think it's normal for adults to get together and just talk about how miserable they are and to have the same response, like, that's how it is, you know?
They really do that.
Yeah. And
there's groups for that.
And that's, you know, socially acceptable to be miserable with your life. And I think here, I just imagine, like, going up to my friends here and being like, yeah, I'm really miserable with my job right now. And they would be like, well, what do you want to do? It wouldn't be like,
you could
well,
do that.
you want to pay the rent, don't you? You know, it's like people are so imaginative here because we've seen so many examples of people making money in ways that I didn't even think would be possible. It's just pretty awesome that people will encourage you and they don't expect you to be miserable. If you're miserable here, then you're doing it wrong. And most people here acknowledge that.
Yeah, I actually get to do Liberty for a living since I work for the Atlas Society. And like being able to do that every day and do nothing but Liberty with my life is the most rewarding and amazing thing in the world. And you can do it too. You just have to move to New Hampshire.
I think my favorite example of this, well, that's how it is, and other people saying, that's not how it has to be. I called my mom and I'm like, shit, I got a speeding ticket. And she's like, well, you're gonna have to pay the fine. And I'm like, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I'm going to take that to court. Might lose, but hey, it's fun.
Right?
Fun time.
So for me, I can't even really imagine giving up this life. It's so unique, and the idea of working a 9-to-5 and then going home and living a normal life and just watching TV and drinking and having no goals other than just going to work every day, starting a family and all those other things. I can't imagine doing that after I've experienced this. Am I the only one that feels this way, or do you guys all feel this way?
Well, I couldn't imagine going anywhere else. I mean, most of high school, I was like, when I finish, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go find something new and exciting. And then everybody just came here. And now I'm like, where could I find a community like this anywhere else? You know, I just really don't think I could. I mean, maybe, but I'm happy with here.
I almost considered a Gulch Gulch burn, but I think I'm going to leave it alone. That one's dead. We kicked that till it was dead. Allie?
Well, I guess, you know, you could, if you're someone, you know, if people at home are listening or people here, like, well, I have the 9-to-5 job and I kind of like that lifestyle. There's nothing standing in your way from having that here. Lots of people have 9-to-5 jobs here and like families, and, you know, some people like that, you know, there's nothing wrong, you know, there's a reason why it's 9-to-5 is because, you know, that's the working time. And I guess my point is just that if that's what you like, then there's room for that here too. It's not that you're going to be judged for that necessarily. Yeah. And I can see why that appeals to people. I mean, I've had jobs here that like took up more of my time than I would have liked, but you know, we all make those judgments about like what's important to us, what our priorities are at the time. So, you know, I would just want to say that you can have that life that maybe some people would consider boring here. You can do pretty much whatever you want.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah,
just make sure you check
libertarians
Craigslist and make sure there's jobs here that you think would be suitable for you.
Just don't aggress, and we're cool with whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but you don't have to go home and turn on the TV and just zone out because you're miserable. You can actually go to the Quill or go to the CAC and get to know new people, or you can do some activism because there's always an event every night. Yeah. I don't know if there is in Keene, but there's always an event every night in Manchester, which is really not that far. Nothing's really that far in New Hampshire. And so, yeah, you don't really have to zone out like that. You can actually get to know people, and that's what's so unique, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. And Renee?
Well, last night I was talking to my boyfriend. I was like, if I go up there on that panel and sound stupid tomorrow, I'm running away and I'm leaving here. And then I really thought about it, and I'm like, if I ran, where would I go? Everywhere else sucks compared to here. No way. And with the whole 9-to-5 job thing, had a waitressing job, and I was liking that, but it kind of sucked more than I liked it. And I got fired yesterday, and I don't care because it's okay because there's other ways to make money here. So
I've never been out of job here. I've had probably 6 jobs since I moved here, and I've been unemployed for maybe 3 to 4 days. It's amazing. Like, the job market is huge here.
And you can always create your own. Like, I sell gold and silver. I buy it and then sell it at a higher price. So
that's awesome.
If you can't find a standard job, just make your own.
Make your own. Get creative. Do whatever you want, and work with cool people here. Because if you want to start a business, this is the best place to come because we have so many skilled programmers and people in other fields. We have somebody for everything, and they're some of the best at what they do because I don't know what it is in the libertarians drinking water, but they're super motivated and really smart. So
it's a passion. I mean,
it is.
Like with Kate, it's like, you know, if you just took some random guy off the street and said, hey, would you like to sell gold and silver? He's not going to do it with the finesse that Kate could.
Nope.
Because he just doesn't care about precious metals or see the value in it, or couldn't sell it to someone the way someone who actually valued, you know, what is important about a currency, what would you want? And
exactly.
Like, why would someone carry precious metals? So I think it's that people here, when they create their own occupations, it's that they're doing it out of a sense of passion for that thing.
Yes, exactly. Or the drinking water. So, last question, ladies, and then I'll open it up for any questions that the audience wants to ask you. Good luck. So, what would you say to any women who really want to come here that are scared and nervous, feel like they won't know anybody when they get here? Because I moved here not knowing anybody. What would you say to those women? Let's start with Renee. We haven't started over there in a while.
Don't be scared. It's worth taking the leap. Like, think about it. You were strangers with all your friends at one point. At one point, I didn't know Lauren. I didn't know Allie. I didn't know Kate. Well, I've pretty much, we went to school together, so. But we were strangers at one point. So it's nice, and everyone was accepting for the most part. When I started getting involved, you will make friends. You will make friends. You sitting at home, you'll make friends. It's okay. Yeah.
I'll be your friend.
Yeah, I'll be your friend.
How about
Don't
you,
worry.
Allie?
I mean, it is true. I don't think there's anywhere else you can go where you're just like, hey, I'm coming, and then you'll have people showing up, you know,
to help you move in.
And specifically to girls, I mean, I know from my experience, I think just because there's a lot of people who will just like add people on Facebook because they're libertarians or like other libertarians in the movement. So like when I get Facebook friend requests from women, I'm like way more than twice as likely to add them, even though I don't know them and never met them, because it's a woman and there's not as many up here. Because, you know, I want more female friends. So I think that a lot of women share in that. Like they'd like to see more women. Women can connect to women in a way that it's difficult for women to connect to men in some cases, in a lot of cases, at least for me, speaking from experience. So I think that, you know, if you're a woman sitting at home and you're thinking about moving to New Hampshire, then I guess, you know, if you're looking to move, then I think this would be one of the easiest places for a liberty-minded woman to come and make friends. I can't think of anywhere else you could go that you would be more welcomed than here. And I think most people who live here would agree with that.
That's wonderful.
One more thing to add, if I could. There are plenty of guys out here, plenty of them, and they're really smart.
So if you like nerds,
I mean, it's true. Before I moved, I was like, you know, if I went to some social gathering and there was some libertarian guy, I'd be like, hey, you want to go get married? Because there aren't any here.
because there's no other guys I need.
Yeah, I mean, they were scarce. And here,
there's like 3 guys to every girl.
Yeah, there's a surplus. So
Hashtag polyamory.
You can be even choosier. So that's kind of a nice thing.
Yeah.
I know that was important to me, you know, before I moved, or it's still important to me. And that was, you know, part of what made me want to move is like, I want to see all these libertarian men that are supposedly out there, and they're here.
They're pretty awesome.
Yep.
I like them. So what about you, Kate?
Well, overall, I just think New Hampshire's a really friendly place, especially people in the Free State Project, and I don't think that anybody that moves here will have problems making friends. I mean, like anywhere, you're probably not going to be friends with everybody you meet, but there are a lot of different types of people, and everyone's really unique, and you can definitely make friends here.
Yeah, and the bigger it gets, the more likely it is to have big circles of friends. So FSP attracts all types. And I just want to, before I open it up for questions, I really want to thank the ladies on the panel for answering my questions. They've been wonderful. So we please give them a round of applause because they're amazing. Okay, questions?
So this question is for all of you, including you, Miss Lauren.
Okay.
And it's not so much a question, but a statement of I know most of you have done some kind of media since you've been here, or like in the case of Renee and Kate, you've kind of been here your whole life. But in the last couple of years, you guys used to be on the Ladies in Keene, that then morphed into a different show that was ALP that Allie did for a while with Ellen. And Lauren, you've got like 27 billion shows that you do. So could you guys talk about the Liberty media that you're doing? And is it something that would have happened without the Free State Project or without other Liberty people being involved?
Does anyone want to start?
It reminds me of what I was talking about with like how you can connect with people online, and like you don't necessarily have to live in New Hampshire to be part of some kind of liberty effort or media effort. But it's always better when you're doing, in my opinion, I think it always comes off better when you're making media for everyone to be in the same room. I've heard some shows, they pull it off where the people are living in different places, and but it's always going to be better when you can pick up on like body language and your connection to someone. Making eye contact is important when you're like doing any kind of media thing, when you're interacting with people. So I would say to answer his question, no, I wouldn't have been involved in nearly as much media stuff, if I hadn't moved here. So definitely.
Agreed. Anybody else?
Well, you know what, Kate, you can go. I feel bad for you. I've cut you off twice now.
Kate's excited.
I definitely wouldn't have been involved in any sort of liberty media at all if it weren't for the Free State Project. I probably still wouldn't know that there are people out there that think the same way I do.
Yes. Renee?
Well, I'm not really great at public speaking, but it's like being on the radio. It's like you're just sitting here having a conversation with Allie or having a conversation with Kate, and it's very comforting. And where else can you go where you can walk into a local shop where, say, Allie worked, and have Allie say, hey, I want to be on the radio, and yeah, or just have Kate message you and be like, hey, want to blog for us? Sweet.
Isn't that basically what happened?
Yes,
it's like you came into our place and I just, you want to be on my show? Exactly.
That's exactly
It's
what
amazing.
happened.
People just ask you to be on your show. Yeah. I mean, in regards to like all the projects I do, I wouldn't have done any of them if I had moved out here. It was really started with my album. When I moved out here, I guess the atmosphere really inspired me to write all of these songs about objectivism and shrug and 10 other beautiful songs that eventually will get produced. But that really sprung the idea of Objectivist Girl. And so I was like, oh, why don't I just go talk about it on YouTube? I see all these people around me doing it. Why can't I do it? So, these women have inspired me to actually do these sort of projects and, Free Talk Live and all those different shows. And I was like, well, I know people that do it, and they're like me, and we get along, and they respect some of the things I say, so I have some good things to say. Why don't I just go say them on the internet? So I did. So yeah. Next question.
It's been my observation that in New Hampshire and the FSP especially, but in the libertarian movement as a whole, that feminism has gained a lot of ground, often being pitched as a way to attract more women despite all evidence to the contrary. And not in the equal treatment under the law sense, but in the far more common man-hating, demonizing normal male behavior sense, often with a legislative agenda behind it that adversely affects men through state violence. As examples, I'd mention a viral video, which I've talked about at some length recently, claiming that a woman who received compliments like, "Hello, beautiful," and "Have a good evening, sweetheart," went viral on YouTube. It has like 18 million views, and a group called Hollaback labeled this as harassment and is actively pursuing legislation to ban this kind of behavior. Just last night, I was kicked off the campus of Keene State College for questioning a group of students who are protesting, quote, rape culture. I have a two-part question for the panel. Firstly, do you notice this phenomenon? And secondly, how do you feel about people pursuing a decidedly anti-male agenda and trying to make it a, quote, women's issue?
Anyone want to go first?
I guess I wanted to clarify, Chris, if you could, the first part of the question was, are people doing this to try to bring women to New Hampshire for the FSP?
Well, it's something that I'm told, right? There's a common theme that the image of this is the typical white male persona, right? And so some people have pursued or been more sympathetic to certain feminist outlets as a way to supposedly bring women in. I don't find that to be the case at all, but some people think that that's going to bring women in, is my understanding.
Okay.
Well, I think that there's been a lot of talk about, like, why aren't there more women here, like libertarian women here moving for the Free State Project? And then I think, whenever you have those kind of questions, people are like, is it something I'm doing? Is there a problem? Am I part of the I think we're presuming that there's a problem and maybe like overthinking it too much. As far as like feminist talk, like people sounding like feminists, in my experience, most of the like Free State Project women that I've met, or like friends of the Free State Project women, tend to have almost like a disdain for feminism, in my experience.
I would agree with you there. This is men doing this, and it's their fault. I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
What is an example of like something men would be saying that would be like feminist?
Well, I would say that there's a certain aversion to, say, sexualizing women. They'll call this rape culture, for example, right? And I don't think that that's the case at all. I mean, the same people who will tell you you shouldn't slut shame because sex is a good thing will tell you that you shouldn't sexualize women because that treats women as objects and promotes rape culture.
I see
right?
what you're saying. I understand what you're saying now. Okay. Yeah. I agree with that. That the idea that respecting women means do something against what feels natural to you. So if what feels natural to you is to tell a woman you think is beautiful that she's beautiful, and you're like, I can't do that because she might get offended, and that's gonna be putting her like down somehow. I think that that's silly, and maybe being I think it comes from a good place. Like, I think they're trying to avoid offending someone and trying to be more conscious of how they're coming off. But I think it actually like works against themselves because it makes them maybe act like awkward, or makes people more uncomfortable that they're acting in a way that doesn't feel natural. So yeah, I would say that it's the kind of thing that's easy to overthink and then to act weird is kind of a result of.
Yeah, I think that I don't subscribe to the term feminist because it's very ambiguous. The definition is always changing. But then again, labels are just that way. Even with objectivism, I try to limit the amount at which I tell people. I always say that objectivist girl is an objectivist. Lauren Rumpler is a person who believes different things and has different ideas. And so with feminists, I understand that there's some sort of, they feel like this is a positive movement. And in some ways it could potentially be, but I think that any time that you're drawing a line between men and women, and really anything, gender, sex, gender, skin color, and anything, you're gonna have negative consequences with that. I want people to look at people as human beings instead of as different sexes. And so think about when you're going to say something to a woman, if you would want it said to you. And if you would want that said to you, then I don't see any issue in saying it. Just be respectful, be adults. I mean, there's not really a need for a feminist movement. There's a need for a be an adult movement. So just grow up, I mean, really. So yeah, what do you guys think? Renee, Kate? No?
I think it's
a tough question to
I think
tackle.
if someone says, where do your political views align, and the first thing you want to say is feminist, then you might not, make a lot of friends in the Free State Project
No.
here, just because I don't hear a lot of people describe themselves as feminist unless they mean I guess I would call myself a feminist if you just mean that means that I think we're all equal, then yeah, I guess technically that'd make me a feminist. But if you agree with, if you're at the front lines of the feminist parade and you agree with a lot of those people, or if you feel like women should have special rights over men, that kind of thing, then yeah, I see you having to defend your positions a lot in this group of friends,
Yeah.
which is fine. People people eat it up. Like if you have a dissenting view, then people want to know about it. And maybe that's something that's worth talking about is something that I have to think about a lot is how do you deal with people who have dissenting views, and do you respect them for having a different opinion than yours? Just because we're so used to it's a cool problem to have, but I'm so used to everyone agreeing with me that there shouldn't be, that government needs to get the hell out of here.
Right.
So when someone has a view that's seems a little pro-government, then it's surprising and you want to know more about it, but you always want to be respectful because that's how you persuade people.
Yeah. I think it's about just being respectful to one another. If the feminist movement is about equality, then it shouldn't be called feminism. It should be called equalitism or something. Just don't, it really is a disease in our culture, labeling people as different based on, exterior qualities. We should be really focused on who people are inside, and to separate men and women into little boxes, like there's certain characteristics that define a woman and certain characteristics that define a man, is keeping us from growing as a culture and discovering who we really are. We need to keep that in mind because people are unique, and that's what makes them so wonderful and special. So, wow, that was super touchy-feely. Anybody have any questions? Yes, please.
Thank you. It's another question that's political in nature. And right now, the statists, authoritarians, and the left, mostly the Democrats, are making a big deal of the so-called inequality in pay between men and women. And a lot of men in politics are afraid to fight that. But basically, the Democrats are using it to try to gain more votes, right? It's a hollow argument, but they're trying to get more women's votes. And of course, what it does is grow government regulation. Mm-hmm. So what are you doing as women to rebut that, or if you in fact don't agree with it? And do you have an opportunity as members of the media to help educate other women about this myth?
What do you ladies think?
So far, I've just been getting really angry at NPR when I'm driving, just cursing the radio. So
Even Janet Yellen talked about it.
Even who?
That woman. Don't even get me started on that woman.
As a P.S., Janet Yellen, I think is her name. She's the new head of the Federal Reserve.
She's an open
wow.
Keynesian.
She came out publicly this week and talked about the gender pay gap and how the Federal Reserve might get involved in somehow trying to fix that.
She's an open Keynesian.
Yeah, that would be
she's out of the closet about
if you
Keynesianism.
were a politician in New Hampshire and you're male, then I could see it being really scary to talk about income inequality because, it's I can say from experience, like a white person talking about how unfair affirmative action is, it just feels a little awkward. Like maybe people see me in this privileged position to be talking about it, and they don't see what I'm trying,
They label it as racist
they're more likely to call me racist. And so I do, I think you're right, Mark, that it's like kind of like this is where women's, this is your call, like women who have a position in media should be the ones taking the lead and talking about this kind of thing because we're talking about ourselves.
Right. This has nothing to do with men. This is an issue that they brought up with women, and if women don't have an issue with it, then they need to stand up and let their voice be heard. I don't have an issue with pay equality. I don't think that it should be handled by government. I think that you shouldn't work for an employer that thinks that men are more valuable than women. You need to be responsible. Again, we need a be an adult movement. You need to be an adult about who you work for and know who you work for and where they stand. And, work hard. Don't blame it on, men versus women if it actually isn't. You should work harder if that's the case. Sometimes it's not the case, but, be an adult about it. Think about it.
Yeah, I don't think more legislation ever helps anything, honestly. But I think, if your employer isn't paying you what you want to be paid, don't work for them. Work for somebody else or talk to them or, find your own solutions to what you consider a problem.
Yeah, good luck without us, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think any women up here feel like victims, and I don't think any of us are. And I really hate when the state tries to make people feel make certain groups of people feel like they're victims just so they can lash out at everyone else and try to use the government as their sword or something.
Yeah, it perpetuates the problem.
Yeah, and it's if you're in that group that they're trying to claim as a victim and that you're not a victim, you don't feel like a victim, and it's also disrespectful, because it's a way of disrespecting certain women's choices to do other things besides being a breadwinner in the family. You're really expecting women to just stand up and it's now we want you to go after certain careers and be just as determined to make your life all about making money as has generally been the role of men. It's as a woman, maybe I have different values than that. Maybe I want to be a stay-at-home mom. There's nothing wrong with wanting that.
Just as a person.
And then it's other women saying, I don't respect that choice. I think that you should care more about your career. I think that you should go for the higher paying jobs. And it's we should respect that different people have different values. And if you start doing if you start studying people and making up statistics and start pointing out things that you call unequal, then that's not respecting people's different lifestyle choices.
Or yourself.
Yeah. It's just, pointing to victims that aren't really there. So I really resent that, and I think Mark's right to point out that it really should be women going out there saying I'm not a victim, I don't feel like a victim, and I think I'm being disrespected to have it suggested that I need the state to come to my defense.
Yeah, I agree. If you see something, say something. But seriously, if you don't feel like a victim, actually stand up and say, I don't feel like a victim. It's sad that the most vocal part of that movement is the people that want legislation, because I know there are a lot of women out there that are angry about being called a victim. There are a lot of people out there angry about being called a victim, because everybody that is subject to the state is being called a victim. Everybody that has to deal with its rule because it's got to protect us from everybody else, they're treating you like victims. We all need to stand up. Not just pay equality, everything else. Men, women, everybody. We're all treated as victims, and we're not. So, anything else? Any other questions? Awesome.
All right, ladies, thank you for coming and being on the panel. You guys have been great. So there's some to tie into what y'all were talking about earlier, being ladies in the liberty movement, obviously you're in a minority compared to the men. It seems like the Free State Project has a better ratio than the Libertarian Party, for instance. There was a Libertarian Party meeting, one of the annual meetings they had here in New Hampshire a couple of years ago. Daryl and I went, and as we were driving up, I said to Daryl, what do you want to bet is not 1 out of 10 is female at this meeting. It turns out I was about right. About 1 out of 10 people were female. I think the Free State Project has a much better ratio than that. It's probably closer to 30 or 40% rather than 10%. So there's an argument to be made that the ladies panel shouldn't exist because does the ladies panel put women in a separate box? Does the ladies panel exist to continue the separation between men and women? Or is it good to have the ladies panel to highlight what some of the outstanding ladies are doing in this movement? I guess the question is, should the ladies panel come back next year, and how do you feel about it existing at all?
I think it's really funny that you bring this up because I've had like a lot of messages about me doing this panel. They're like, Lauren, why did you decide to turn it into a ladies panel? Because I don't know how many people have been on the Quill Social, but there's been some jokes about me being a sexist, which is really funny because I went to an all-girls private Catholic school and up until about maybe 3 years ago, I was terrified of speaking to other women. So I've grown out of that, but oh my gosh. So, and mostly all my friends are guys anyway. But anyway, the point is that I think that it's a positive thing only because of the fact that women sometimes feel like there aren't other women out here and that they won't have girlfriends when they move here. And so it's nice to show them that there's a great group of women who are super positive, super involved, and really, really nice out here. I know that was a big thing for me when I moved out here. I was worried there wouldn't be a lot of women and that I wouldn't have that diversity in that experience. And I think it's a good thing. What do you ladies think?
I like the idea of the ladies panel. I could see where I'm not surprised that a lot of people are like, there shouldn't be a ladies panel. There's nothing,
So
you
sexist.
shouldn't get an award just for being a woman. But I mean, it's true to my experience of kind of being here is that it's like, there doesn't have to be affirmative action for you to be like, especially valued for being a woman, in the sense that like lots of people have projects and they're like looking around, they're like, I only have dudes helping me, and I want like a women's involvement, I want more women on my team. And so because there are less libertarian women just in general, or at least from what we can see, then yeah, you're gonna get like a special place just for being a woman here as like a liberty-minded woman than if you're a man, because libertarian men are a dime a dozen. So yeah, you are like special. You're more special.
Allie, I really love you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the first time I've been invited to do something liberty related just because I'm a woman, and I don't have a problem with it. Like, I'm not offended by that. I think it's great because I do think that women have something to add, that if you're doing a project, unless there's some reason why women shouldn't be involved, that if you don't have women involved, then you might be missing something you wouldn't otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're just offering another perspective. Like, if the ladies panel didn't exist, I'm not too active with Cop Block or Free Aid or anything else really. I'm kind of behind the scenes doing stuff. So I don't know where else I could share my perspective. So I'm glad that this panel is here. And at the time that I was asked to be on the panel, it wasn't even a ladies panel. It was like a vaccination panel. So
well,
I
it was
just
a
stuck
ladies'
around.
vaccination panel, but yeah,
Right.
that fell apart.
Whatever. But here I am, and I'm glad I'm here. So thanks for the opportunity. Don't get rid of the ladies panel.
Pass. Yeah, I think that it's great that we're displaying diversity in the community, because honestly, I don't think a lot of us would be up here because it is a lot easier to ask men in the community than to ask women, because there's less women. It was definitely challenging getting the panel together, but I came out on top on this one. Awesome women here, so go ahead.
All right. You guys are very representative of a certain generation. Despite how youthful I may look, I probably represent another generation.
Very.
So I have some generational questions. I'd like to know if this is something generational or if you guys feel this too. Colleen and I moved up here 7-8 months ago, so we're new movers. But we often make the comment that we feel that we have met more people and feel closer to more people up here than we did after, say, living in Pennsylvania for 15, 20 years. Do you guys feel that way also? And can you talk a little bit about the representation of other generations of women that you've met and come across in the Free State Project, and maybe some of the things that you see going on there? You know, ladies' luncheon around Keene and things like that. Anybody?
Ladies? Allie.
With different, what's going on with different generations of women here?
I believe. Different generations of women?
Yeah, that, and do you feel that the friends you make here you're probably closer to than friends you've made in other places? Has your circle of friends within your generation seemed to become closer friendships?
I think we all agreed on the panel that we feel much closer to the people in the Free State Project than we do anyone else. Yeah,
Definitely.
They actually share a deeper seated value rather than we all like to go shopping.
And I think I'm suited to answer this question. Chris, as you know, your lovely lady and I volunteer in Alstead at an organization called Friendly Meals, where elderly people come to get a free meal. The lady who runs it is really nice. So all older people that we like to hang around, they're really freaking funny. I love them. It's nice, and they also offer a different perspective, like, oh, I remember when I got married, or oh, this is how it was then. This is how it was then, and it's nice. It's nice. They're cozy feeling. They're warm feeling. I like them. I sound like a weirdo. Someone else.
No, I agree with you. Actually, you know what's great is I spend a lot of time, well, not a lot of time, not as much as I want, with the Harrises. I like the Harrises a lot. They're really cool. There's an older couple here. And there's a lot of people from different generations, like Renee and I get along. I don't feel like there's any age difference. Harris's and I get along. I don't feel like there's any age difference. And that's really the thing about the Free State Project, is the people of different ages really don't treat you like you're younger or older. It's not like that. We're all here for liberty, and we all have things in common. And so we'd rather talk about liberty than our age. And I learned so many cool things from people of different perspectives and different generations. And I can't tell you how cool it is hanging out with the Harrises and getting to listen to 70s music, because they're super into it, and so am I. So that's really fun. And there's a lot of shared values between the generations. And I think that comes from us all being very intellectual and liking to learn. And so we know about stuff from different eras, and so we can all kind of relate to one another. And it's great.
I think it's really interesting because we have, a very basic principle in common. So we can be friends with people that are, I have friends here that are older than my parents by at least 10 years. Yep. And it's just really interesting to, be able to have discussions with people in different age groups, and nobody really questions, like, why are you hanging out with that person? They're like 40 years younger than you. Like, we have something very important in common, I think.
And now that I really think about it after answering that question, Colleen, how many years do you have on me? Old enough to be your mother. Old enough to be my mother. And that's okay, because we both have fun doing the same thing. And we like each other. We're friends. Cozy feeling.
Allie?
Yeah, I mean, I would second what you ladies have said, is that it's like, it doesn't feel, the age difference doesn't seem like a big deal, or I'm not even really conscious of it. Like,
no, me neither. I don't even, it doesn't even register
most of the time.
to me.
I mean, there's certain things like, oh, you're married. Well, I'm not. I mean, like, that wouldn't matter if, like, Kate was married. She's younger than me. The difference in that kind of life would be the same.
Yeah.
Whether she was, I don't even know how old you are, Kate, or she was like 50, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
so.
and I think it comes from the fact that, and it's like this in every area, gender and age and all of these different things. When I was asked to do the ladies panel, I was like, I don't know who I knew ladies, but it didn't register to me as like these are the women I know and these are the men I know. It was like everybody here defies age gaps, defies gender gaps, defies race gaps, and that's just not really a thing in my mind here. It doesn't register to me just because everybody's so unique and nobody really fits into like, this is a woman and this is a man. It's like, these are my people, these are my friends, and they're just people. It's great. I love New Hampshire. Rob?
Hello. All right. First off, Allie, I have to admit, I did the exact same thing. I used to follow Free Talk Live and LRN, and I'm sitting in here and like there's legends left and right all in here. So I can compare it to exactly what you were talking about.
Everyone's so casual about it.
I know, exactly, yeah.
So weird.
But my real question for being up here is, obviously I kind of agree with Ian in regards to the liberty movement in general, like 10-ish% of women in the movement. But here there is a lot larger percentage of women in the Free State Project compared to anywhere else. Do you think the Free State Project in general is doing something different to attract women, or there really should there even be a rhetoric toward attracting women? It should just be on merely philosophical grounds.
Rob, you had to be that person, didn't you? I don't think we should be making any special effort to attract women at all, and I really, 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 really don't like it when people do that. But that's okay. That's just my anti-feminism, anti-focus on gender thing. So, what do you guys think?
I think people will be attracted to what they're interested in, and I'm sure that there will be more women that are interested in liberty and interested in the Free State Project, and they'll move here. But I don't think that any specific we're trying to get the ladies to come here, movement should be happening.
I think is the best thing to get just, whatever demographic of people you want to move here is like all these, it's not necessarily a libertarian effort or project, but because being a libertarian is not like a mainstream thing, people tend to think differently about other aspects of life too, are more open to alternative lifestyles or alternative ways of doing things. I don't know how many of my friends live on farms or have some kind of farm lifestyle, and that's not normal from where I'm from. So people being into their passion projects, just besides liberty stuff, we got the liberty thing, I'm into that too, but I also have this other passion I'm really into, and I don't even think anyone expects it, but it's a bunch of people are sort of looking into alternatives to other ways of living your life. So I think being into that and going after that and sort of marketing that is a neat thing, and it's going to attract all kinds of people, because if you just make it about being liberty-minded, then that's what you're going to get. Whatever you're putting out there is what you're going to get back. So put something different out there. If the liberty-minded stuff seems to just attract men and not as many women, then, maybe throw something else out there too. I think that works.
I really love your answer. Yes, it's about showing people all the cool things that we're doing out here. I'm into this thing. I'm gonna go and hashtag it's like this too constantly. And I love the hashtag it's like this too. I think it's awesome because people get to really see this is all the things that are going on in New Hampshire. I mean, we have movements for cop blocking, we have media, we have, interesting relationship dynamics that you can't really find really anywhere else. We have cool conventions all the time. We go out drinking together and talk about liberty, and I mean, there's so many cool things here. And if we just show those things, there's going to be both men and women attracted to those things, because women like a lot of the same things that men do. It's really weird how, people all seem to really like the same things when y'all get down to it. So what do you guys think? Should we be pushing women to move here, or just people? Anything else? Does anybody have any more questions? I mean,
I don't see how pushing women to be here would be effective.
I know, right?
If I was a girl and I was kind of I'm not sure, maybe I'll move to New Hampshire. It's it's like, please move to New Hampshire if you're a girl. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, that's not going to work.
Probably turn you away.
That makes me feel like
we're
I'm going to
desperate for women over here. Like, that's not going to work.
That makes me feel like something sketchy's going on.
Yeah, like, yeah. So
like being
I
told
don't
what to
see
do.
that working anyway, so there's no point.
Colin.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe about taking what Rob said and turning it on its head and saying it's not us, it's the rest of society. Because when you think about a lot of the movers, you could see many examples where there have been, let's say, men who were libertarian married to wives who weren't, and they brought the family here, right? And that's generally the case in society at large, that the woman follows the man, right? But how many of us can think of the opposite case where there were, let's say, libertarian women who brought their families here with their husbands? So really, is it us that, like maybe there's a lot of libertarian women out there married with like statist husbands who just can't get up here, right?
I don't know. I was in a relationship for 5 years before I moved here, and eventually he's going to get his butt up here and follow my lead and get on my level. So I definitely came out here first. I don't know about you ladies.
That makes it sound like women are just followers. They just follow their men around wherever they go.
I don't follow anybody.
Well, yeah. In general, in society, like everywhere else, that is how it's like supposed to be. And so that's why I'm saying maybe it's not us, it's everyone else. That's the reason why there aren't,
Sure. Fair enough. I mean, like, before I moved up here, the guy I was with was not really libertarian, and so he stayed where he was, and I came by myself. So, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine me getting him to, like, uproot his life to come with me. Maybe that is a thing in society. Like, maybe it seems more normal for a woman to follow a man than for a man to follow a woman, especially for some kind of, like, political thing. Yeah, that does seem like that's not going to happen very often, is for the man to be like, well, my wife's really into this political movement, so we decided that we were going to, uproot our lives and move, for her thing. I guess that just doesn't really happen that often, but I would like to see it happen. That'd be neat.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, women, don't be afraid to just uproot your life. If they really love you, they're going to come out here with you, and that's kind of the approach I took to it. And leaving, it was his idea originally to move here, and when I was ready and he wasn't, I said, well, I guess I'll see you when you get there, because I'm ready and I'm going. So, hope you can make it. What do you guys think? Women, followers, leaders, titans, what, Atlas?
Our dog came to live with us from Florida. She came up from Florida, and she's very happy. So,
leading the dogs.
leading the dogs, leading the pack.
I guess it wouldn't be my place to say, but I would imagine, I'm imagining that there's like some girl listening at home that like really wants to move for the FSP and feels like that's what she really wants for herself, but this guy that she's with just she's afraid to bring it up to him, or maybe she has and he's not into the idea or whatever. Then I guess for some life advice that coming from someone who knows nothing about your life and just speaking in generals, that every time I've made a choice to not do something that I really wanted to do because I was afraid that I would lose the person who didn't want to go along with it or didn't approve of it, I have regretted that, or if I ended up doing what I wanted anyway. So something to think about is that, plan to follow the thing that you want, and even if you're like, well, no, really, I'm going to stay with my husband if he wants to stay here. Well, at least if you really are thinking about moving to New Hampshire, you should at least think about how you would go about doing that when it really comes down to it. If you decide that that's what you're going to do, you should have a plan for how you're going to make it happen.
Yeah,
and come visit.
Yeah, try it out before. Yep. I know I make it sound lighthearted, but leaving that relationship was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And I'm with Allie. It is hard to choose to do what you really love with your life. And it was really hard it's still really hard, because he's still a really important person in my life, and I hope he gets out here eventually. But it has been so worth it, and I mean, a lot of people that have moved here are divorced. We don't call it the Divorce State Project for nothing. And but you have a good support team. These people will take you under their wing and care for you, and they know what you're going through. You're going to find people out here that know what you're going through, and it'll be totally worth it. And if you feel that way, then come hang out with me, and we can talk about that, because I know what that's like. So, because we were together for 5 years, so it felt like a marriage anyway. So,
Any final comments? Because it's about time.
Any comments, ladies? Anything you want to say to any women watching this video right now? Or any people?
Move to New Hampshire.
Move!
I want to say thank you, Lauren, for inviting us all on this panel. I'm really glad that you picked such good women to be on it, and thanks for everyone for showing up. It's really cool that people actually turned out to listen to women talk about loving New Hampshire. Especially a lot of people who live in New Hampshire already know how great it is. So,
what she said, I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Thanks for having me on, and people, not politics.
Yeah. And I want to send a special thank you to Renee, who this panel wouldn't even be possible without her. She really helped me get Kate, and she came up with the idea. Allie was also one of her ideas, and she's been really helpful in this whole process. And again, thank you to all you ladies. You are such wonderful, mature, beautiful, and intelligent representatives of the Free State Project. And I hope we'll get many more people just like that.
We'd like to invite you to visit freekeene.com. Freekeene.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. Freekeene.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. Freekeene.com.
I should be in Keene, New Hampshire with the Free Staters.